You're listening to the Crew Talk Podcast, a conversation about chasing growth. All right, y'all. Welcome back to Crew Talk. This is episode, I think, 18. I have a special guest today, one of my homegirls from Yale, Birdy Assefa. Let her introduce herself, and then we'll get into it.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Tim. I'm so excited to be here. I'm Birdy, went to Yale with Tim. And what is it that I want to share with you guys? Some of the things that I really love is STEM. Like, I'm very much a science, technology, like tech person. And then in addition to that, really love like philosophy and political science. And yeah, so I don't know, ask me questions and I'm happy to answer. But I mean, those are just kind of like some of my passions. Love fashion and
Oh yeah, we can tell. We definitely can
oh,
tell.
right.
We can start with talking about your background, like where you're from, how you got to Yale, all that kind of stuff.
That's a good ass. I was like, yeah, who am I? Anyways, so I'm originally from Ethiopia. Like I was raised half my life there, and then around like when I was about to turn into my teens, I moved to the U.S. I moved to the D.C. area, D.C. suburbs. So just like immigrant through and through. I don't know. I felt like I had kind of like an odd childhood because I feel like when I was younger, I'm sure a lot of other people also experienced this, but like grew up in like very much like low income background and just like low income neighborhoods. But the school that I went to was like very much predominantly white. I was the only Black girl there. And so I used to joke that I was actually I was 50% of the Black population in my grade because there was actually 2 Black people. It was crazy.
Oh, that's tough.
It was wild. But I spent middle school and high school there, and I mean it was a good school, and like there are pros and cons type of thing. Made some really great friends still despite everything. And then I kind of like so I was like a super science fair kid, when I was growing up, and like I feel like that's what got me to Yale, to be honest. Like I was very much like a science fair person and like science person when I was applying. And when I got to Yale was kind of like when I really like started growing into like myself and my consciousness and all that stuff. So anyway,
What would you say your favorite part of Yale was?
my friends, like hands down, no question. I feel like I just felt like it made me the person that I am, or at least maybe not made me the person I am, but like it revealed who I wanted to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like I made some amazing friends. And I also feel like if you're Black at Yale, especially, like the only way to survive it is by having like really dope homies, like
That's very true.
that's really the only way. Cause like there's some crazy shit that's happening and you're like, is it just me or do y'all see it too? Like, you know what I
It's
mean?
like that look around moment.
Exactly. So for me, it was just kind of like I really got so lucky because within the first few days, I met some of my best friends, like Gael, Soraya. Literally, all of us met each other like the first few days of Yale, and like for the most part, the same people. Obviously, like my circle expanded, but it didn't shrink. Like
I feel that.
I like have those people that were some of my closest friends at the beginning are still some of my best friends now. Like I had the same roommate for all 4 years. Like it was kind of like I got lucky and like had a great group of friends. So that's really what it was. And another top favorite is probably like the dining hall times. I don't know if you like we would
I
all
already
just
know. It was like a
right?
squad thing.
Literally, we would all just go to Commons for lunch. And I mean, people who don't know, like, no Commons. And like at dinner, we would go to Pearson dinner and like everyone shows up at the same time. We all take over like half of the fucking dining hall. And wait, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, you can curse.
Okay,
Yeah, it's all
I
good.
curse a lot. Yeah, half the dining hall. And we would just be like shooting this, like, what? I don't even know what we talked about, but like we really had
a vibe. Yeah.
Right? It was such a vibe. We were vibing for hours. Sometimes I'm like, how do we have so much time to do all this? But
I didn't have that time, but I envied y'all who had it.
For me, I was like, I gotta make the time because this is too fun, I also learned a lot by just like talking to people there, I'm like, oh, that's such a cool class you're taking, or like that's so interesting. Let me think about it, or whatever. So anyways.
Everyone that I talked to when I asked them that, it's either like what they were interested in or the people there. So it's funny how you said the same thing.
Yeah.
What what I think is a very underrated event that happened at Yale that you probably forgot about?
What?
The freshman holiday dinner.
Oh
when they had like the ice
yes.
sculptures and all that stuff.
Yeah, and they literally had the procession of food.
Yeah, if they could take me back to that moment right now, I'd pay a lot of money to go back.
Honestly, I didn't live it up there in the way that I should have. You know what I mean? I
Right?
was like,
I
I
should have
really
got way more stuff.
exactly. Honestly, I was like, why didn't I bring Tupperware or some shit like that? Like, you know. Anyways, it was
Probably
also just cool.
it probably was like in terms of like the quality of the food we had when we were there, it's probably top 5 meals I ate
A
in those
hundred
four
percent.
years.
100%. Also, just like the extravagance of it all. I'm like, is this what college is like for everybody?
It was our
Like,
first year. We're like,
literally, I was like texting my friends, like my childhood friends and stuff. I was like, do you all have this too, or is it just us? Like, what's going on? You know?
it was for sure just it was
So
for
funny.
just that one day. It wasn't even
Yeah,
us. It was
yeah. It was. Though I don't know if this is a hot take, but I actually always loved Yale food. I thought it was pretty good.
that take is on fire. That is hot as hell. That food was not it.
No, but some of the food was kind of good. I thought.
Like the nachos and the chicken tenders. But other than that, I don't know what you were eating.
Fair enough.
What's one thing? I mean, there's probably tons of things. So, what's the one thing that stands out that you would change about Yale that you think would benefit a lot of people?
Oh, of a lot of people, not
Okay,
my
no,
own.
start with yourself. Start with yourself.
Oh, okay, okay. I
That's
feel
going to
like
be a hot take.
I mean, I don't think it's much of a hot take to be completely honest, but like, I wish there was more support for like first generation and like low income students in general. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I personally felt like, you know, I had a support group coming into Yale, and I like, you know, was part of the scholarship foundation, whatever, that like very much supported me. And so, but had I not had that, and I still struggle to be honest, like as a like all of that,
Mm-hmm.
but especially had I not had that support, I know that like it would have been way worse. And so I just think that there just needs to be more support for like low income kids. And I just feel like there's not enough conversation at Yale about class, like especially as it intersects with race, you
Yeah.
know? Like
Oh, you talking about social class?
yeah, social classes, yeah, yeah, yeah. And like money and stuff, like how, like I think people think you go to Yale and it's like this great equalizer, and it's really not. You know, people
Mm-mm.
get there and like you're seeing things, you're hearing things that other people have been doing their whole lives, and this is the first time you're hearing it, and you're supposed to compete on the same field. It doesn't make sense, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so I think to have, I guess institutionally, that like recognition for like low income and first gen kids, specifically like students of color, like that would be like more support for that would be great.
Do you felt as though I completely understand where you're coming from? Do you feel because sometimes I feel like that kind of stuff, if we ask for it, there may have been someone to talk about. Do you think
mm,
it's more of a like having like a mandatory thing for people, like a visible thing rather, or like do you feel like it just wasn't there at all?
I think it felt very much like if you stumbled on support, you stumbled on it. You know, like for
Mm-hmm.
example, depending on what college you're in, you might have a dean that's extremely supportive. You know,
Right.
like if you're like, hey, I can't do XYZ, or I'm struggling in XYZ and I need this support, and the dean is like kicks into high gear to like help you, support you, check in on you, all that stuff. And then there are other deans that are just kind of like
They're
not
just
great.
there.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Yeah, they're just there, or they penalize you for struggling. You know, like they kind of
Mm-hmm.
like are very much like, well, you just can't cut it, right? Like that's kind of the vibe you get. And
All right.
I kind of didn't like that. And it felt very much like it's kind of luck of the draw what kind of support you get. I wish there was more of like a uniform way of like, okay, here is a center you can go to. This is for first gen low income kids. Go, like, you know, there's like academic support. There is, you know, more financial aid conversation, like people to talk to about financial aid, all these things. So like kind of like, oh, centralized place that people can go to like receive support. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they definitely have the system to do it because all the prep meetings and intro
Yeah,
meetings we had as freshmen. So it's definitely a space for it. It's just a matter of just bringing it to their attention, I guess.
that's real. That's real. But yeah, I feel like that's probably one of the bigger things I would probably change at Yale.
Yeah,
Other than that, I wish there were, other than that, I wish there were more like just fun parties and things like that. You
but
know,
we all wish that 100%.
like, I wish it was a little bit more lit, but like it is what it is.
I feel like our freshman and sophomore year was like the peak, and then
it,
junior year it was just like,
yeah, it got boring. It just kind of like leveled off, or even dipped, to be honest. And I was just kind of
dipped,
like,
100% dipped.
yeah, I was just like, yeah, I know this is like a whatever, an academic institution, but it's also like I'm 21. Like I want to have fun.
I
Yeah,
mean, I feel like there's tons of other places that you could consider academic that had a blast.
Agreed, yes. And
Yeah.
just talking to my friends and seeing the experience they were having, I was just like, damn. Anyways, meanwhile,
Damn was the word. When you looked at stories,
literally,
you're like,
I'm
damn.
like, I really took an L on this one, but it is what it is. You know, obviously grateful for the opportunity, never to be like not grateful, but
Mhm.
something I wish that wasn't a case. Anyways,
I feel that.
I rambled.
What so you say you were really into STEM growing up. What about it and what part of STEM is what interests you?
I found it like, I mean, this is cliche, but I think it's just so innovative. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like, it's like, I think the idea that somebody can spend their whole lives studying one protein because that's just so important to the body, I think is so fascinating to me. Like, you know, just thinking about how complex the world is and STEM is trying to figure out how to simplify it and like understand it. That's really it. Like I think at the
Right.
depths of it. Sorry, something on my eye. But um, and I also just feel like there's just so many unanswered questions across every field within STEM, whether it be tech or physics or biology and stuff, and all of them have such like huge um, could have profound effects on the world. So I'm like, this is so interesting. But obviously I couldn't express it in that way when I was that young. It was just kind of like, yo, that's kind of cool when you mix this thing that it like, you know, makes fire or whatever
Yeah.
whatever you know. So
You were a
so
chemistry
yeah,
major, right?
I was chem and poli sci.
How like when you told me that you were chemistry, I was just how does chem and poli sci like come together? So what made you choose that one?
So I was actually chem first, and I think part of the reason is because I really enjoyed all my science classes in high school, and I had a pretty good experience in high school. So I was like, well, I enjoy it. Let me see what happens from there. Also, I just found chemistry in everything, you know, whether it be physics or biology. Like I feel like chem touches on like a lot more different subjects than people give it credit for,
Uh,
and it felt
Before you finish, the line I find chemistry and everything, you could clip that or like make that your own quote. That's kind of fire.
yeah, but anyways, yeah, so that's kind of why I gravitated towards it, and it also felt the most tangible in some ways, you
Mhm.
know. And because I was like, oh, I could literally see these chemicals mixing and titration and all that shit, like, you know, like
Right.
this is so cool. But I was that, and then I kind of got disillusioned with STEM and just the STEM field, and I feel like it kind of like doesn't have enough respect for the importance of the humanities, you know,
Hmm.
and the importance of just kind of like social sciences, particularly like I felt like I was in classes and I'm like, yes, of course we can like, you know, work all day to find the cure for cancer or the cure for whatever, like HIV, etc. But like if we don't understand the larger like structures within which society works and like inequalities work and stuff, then the people who actually need these medicines or these like innovations are never going to get it. So what's the point? And
Yeah.
you know, so like because of that, I was just like, oh wait, like let me learn more about what's going on in the world outside of like a lab.
Hmm. It's very
Um,
streamlined, very like based, like very objective
yeah,
based learning.
exactly. And I think as I got older, also like, you know, in STEM, there's this like I think thought of like numbers are king, you know, like it's just all
Hmm.
about quantitative data. And like I think we miss so much because we don't literally take into account qualitative data and like people's experiences.
Hmm.
And so I kind of wanted to have a field that like allows for that to some extent. And I mean, social sciences also have their issues, but like at least there's more of it, you know.
Right.
um, Plus I just I realized that like I can have like a variety of interests, you know, like I don't have to be limited to one thing. And
Right.
I really love philosophy, the like few philosophy class I first took, and I was like, you know what, let me keep doing this. So
Did you ever
anyways,
have the desire or interest in being a doctor? Because I feel like that's a good blend between social and
yeah, oh
scientific.
my god, yes. But in retrospect, I'm like, did I want to be a doctor because I wanted to actually be a doctor, or did I want to be a doctor because my immigrant parents were like, you should be a doctor? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like
Like for them, it's like doctor or bust or whatever. Like so.
that's a lot of pressure. Jeez.
Yeah, but so I think it's like I was pre-med actually. I actually completed like a good amount of pre-med before I was just like, hold up.
Hmm.
I don't want to do this for the rest of I don't want to be a doctor for the rest of my life, especially when there are other things that I'm interested and fascinated by. And yeah, so I did once upon a time want to be a doctor.
I
No
feel
more
that.
though. Every day now I wake up and be like, I'm grateful other people are trying to be a doctor, but I'm also grateful that I'm not going to be a doctor.
I feel you. It's definitely it's a very specific path for specific people, I should say.
Yeah. It takes a lot of stamina as well. So if you're in it just because like of like the clout or because of like whatever money or etc. Like I don't know how that will sustain you for like the 12 years of education you got to do for it.
Yeah, you got to find something a little bit deeper than that.
Exactly.
So touching on the for you being an immigrant and spending almost like a large portion of your life in
Yeah.
Ethiopia, how was that transition? I guess like maintaining your culture and assimilating to like the the visual culture that people like project on you just being a black person.
Yeah. I mean complex, I think is the
I can
probably
imagine.
the best word, but I think for some reason, I mean partly of it is also because the DC area has mad Ethiopian Eritrean people,
Hmm.
and so for obviously those two countries have their own history, but I did feel like it wasn't as hard to hold on to my culture as I thought it might have been. You know what I mean? Because I was just
Okay.
like, oh, I feel like people came here and like recreated Addis, like they recreated Ethiopia completely in some ways here, and so I was eating like all the Ethiopian food I would eat at home. I was speaking in Amharic at home. I was like wearing and going to churches that were all Ethiopian people. So it was just kind of like, in that way, it felt easier. But I think what made it complex was just like once school entered the picture, like
Yeah.
you leave home and you go to school and you have to think about how you fit in with your peers,
Hmm.
And so that was difficult because I think just because I also feel like in the US, people don't understand that Black people have like multiple identities. You know what I mean? Like, yes, we're all Black, but like Black people come from, a variety of different experiences.
Right.
And so in many ways, like I felt like you're not really seen as an individual, So like I
Hmm.
could have been an immigrant, but like I don't know if white people cared.
Yeah.
Like, I think at first and foremost in America, we were all like Black first, like that's what people see, that's what how they treat you as. And like I'm very proud to be Black. I would never change anything about being Black. And so there's that. But I think when I was younger, there was definitely so much part of me that was like super internalized racism of like, am I less than or whatever, you know what I mean? So, but I think as I grew up and especially as I surrounded myself with like other people my own age who are also Black, who also are like come not just from immigrant, but like people who are like have been in America for generations, etc. Like I felt like I found my voice a little bit. So that community aspect was like the biggest part of like how I've been able to hold on to my identity, to my various identities, honestly.
I feel I you probably seen it, but me and Mackenzie do like a little bit of traveling every now and then.
Yeah, you
And
guys are so cute. Like super fan.
stop it. But
Honestly. I think
we
I'm a bigger fan of Mackenzie than you, but not because I'm not a fan of you, but because she's awesome. That's really it.
that's that's rough to hear on my own podcast, but hey,
I'm
whatever.
kidding.
But so yeah, we I got bit by the travel bug heavy, and I feel like that influenced kind of my perspective on Vibes Crew because I do like a lot of travel videos and
Yeah.
diving into like other cultures. What I mean, can you just tell me more about your culture? Because I mean, I know where you're from, but like specifics about it and things like that. Because I feel like it could be enlightening to people who listen to this.
Yeah. So I don't know if everybody knows where Ethiopia is, but it's in East Africa, the Horn
Hmm.
of Africa. It is one of the two, if not the only, I think it's one of the two countries not to be colonized. And I say that not even just to like brag, because it's like a huge, especially of like modern Ethiopian history, like that's something that's really big that informs how we operate now. And
Hmm.
so the country is quite suspicious of like outside intervention in our government and stuff because of that. And so anyways, what can I tell you all about? It's a very old nation,
Hmm.
as old as some of the biggest like civilizations, like Romans, Egyptians, etc. Like it's been around for a very long time. It was also one of the first Christian nations. Also one of the I think, first countries in Africa to um, also have like Muslim people move there, and so like and just like it's a very diverse country,
Hmm.
specifically, especially in terms of tribes and in terms of religion. I grew up in my neighborhood like Muslim people, Jewish people, Christians, Orthodox Christians, a whole lot of different. And So that's something I actually really love about it,
Hmm.
is that kind of like religious diversity, but also, it's also a very tribal country, so people very much like not stick to their own, but like there's tensions between different tribes, and it's obviously informed by like the history before it and who had power and who didn't, etc. Like it is in every other country, but that's that. It's a pretty conservative country, I would say. I I mean, culturally speaking, I think like when you think about like queer rights, etc., like that conversation has not entered like mainstream at all. Like obviously there's queer people everywhere, but like definitely not in Ethiopia. So that's like something really big that at least for me personally that like weighs heavily on me is that.
Hmm.
But other than that, like it's a very beautiful country. Definitely recommend that everybody like learns about it. I think if you want to learn the history of Africa, I feel like obviously every nation is important, and um, but in Ethiopia is also. I feel like you got to know the history of Ethiopia also to like fully understand this continent.
I
Sorry.
feel you. No, that's good. I mean, obviously the mainstream media does its thing in trying to portray certain places the way it wants to.
Yeah.
How do you feel about I mean, I don't really see it too much, but how do you, since you're from there, do you feel like the mainstream media distorts people's perspective of it? Or
Of
what do you,
Ethiopia or like
yeah.
Africa continent?
I know they distort Africa, but more so
Yeah.
Ethiopia.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I think it's also I think yes and no in that I mean in that like I don't even think Ethiopia as a nation is like really discussed that often in the mainstream because like but that's because like how Africa is treated obviously impacts how Ethiopia is treated, so
Hmm.
and how every nation is treated. And so I feel like, for everybody, Africa, like for the Western media, at least Africa is a monolith. So you're either like these, like, the countries that are in Africa are either like completely invisible to the Western mind, or when Ethiopia is visible, it's like, comes up in the context of like a war or a famine or whatever, which is even
Yeah.
though like yes, those things occur, but like imagine if you were talking about America and the only thing you talk about is just like, the fact I don't know, every like all the shitty parts of it basically,
Right.
in reality, like for a person living there, that's not really the only thing that's part of their lives. So in that way, yes. And then also in addition, I also feel like the Ethiopians that do get a lot of visibility in the media, even in the Western media, are very much like a very certain part of the country. It's like the part that's like light skinned, curly hair, very Arabized in some ways. When in reality, like it's a very diverse like country. It has skin tones from like the lightest skin tone to the darkest skin tone. You can think of as a black person, like every shade of black basically is there, but
Mhm.
the ones that are given platform are obviously like the light skin, like more white, like Eurocentric features type of thing. So
Yeah, I could imagine. Obviously every country has its not claim to fame, but like it's the thing it brags about. It like competes with other countries. What's Ethiopia's?
our food, probably.
Of course, I mean everyone says their food, but what's
Yeah,
like
but like our food, and also the fact that we weren't colonized. Like every Ethiopian person you talk to, they ask them, tell me one fact about Ethiopian history. The first thing they're gonna say is that.
I feel like that's like a I mean obviously it's a badge of honor, but it's like a dig to the other countries too.
No, yeah, and it's like it's fucked up. I agree with you. You know what
Uh-huh.
I mean? And so like, and that's part of the reason. Also, there is like a obviously a regional like tension between Ethiopia and other countries because of this. You know what I mean? It's like it's really fucked up. Obviously, I don't support it, but I'm saying if I have to say like what's their claim to fame specifically in like the Western mind is it's definitely that. I would say again, don't agree with it. I totally agree that it is a dig that's unnecessary and very much like ahistorical at times. But anywho,
I feel it. I mean, if I was Ethiopian, I'd probably say the same thing too.
yeah, but I wish there was also more recognition of the fact that we wouldn't have been able to do that had it like we wouldn't have been able to like push back against the Italian occupation had it not been for the help of other African countries.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So I just feel like there definitely has to be recognition of that. So I totally agree with you. But I was I was more answering the question of like what would be the claim to fame that people would say.
I feel you. What are your? I mean, this would be charged because we have a lot of life left to live. But like, what are some of your goals, career goals, personal goals?
Huh, that's a good question. I was like, well, it's interesting you asked me that because that's actually what I'm thinking about at this point in my life. But I mean, as of right now, I want to be a lawyer, so there's that. So I'm working to hopefully go to law school and do that, like personally speaking. Career wise, I have a few different ways that I kind of want to take my law degree, but like it's definitely not set in stone. So let me not jinx it, you know. So I'm just gonna say that.
Well, you could speak it into existence. That's what I believe.
Really, I
Yeah.
mean, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. So there's definitely a few different things that I'm considering. Like, I really would love to do some sort of like litigation work, and so that would be really interesting. But personally speaking, I like I want to be the kind of person who doesn't feel the need to like explain themselves to others. You know what I mean? I'm very much the kind of person of like, if you don't get it, or like if I like a people pleaser type of thing, you know, it like really gets to me if
Yeah.
especially the people who are close to me don't see what I'm doing, and like I go above and beyond to be like, oh, let me explain, let me convince you my point of view, etc., etc. But sometimes like people aren't gonna understand what you want to do, and they aren't gonna understand what steps you want to take in life, and like, or it might not conform to the pressures of the outside world, and that's okay, you know.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to be more confident in my choices, and like also confident in my failures as well. I feel like we live in the era of like highlight reels,
Very true.
and I want to be the kind of person who can be more honest and vulnerable about the shit that they fucked up on too, you know, and like the shit that isn't going well, and failures as well, because I don't know. I feel like right now, especially since we're growing up in the Instagram era, you just feel like you're the only one who's kind of like falling behind or inadequate, and like I don't want to feel that, you know.
Yeah. I feel like you can still be confident, like in terms of like people who like don't understand what you're doing. Like you can still explain it to them. I guess it's more so like how you respond to their response. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I guess that's kind of what I feel like you distilled it well. That's kind of what I was trying to say, and that like I would definitely have the conversation of like, oh, this is what I'm trying to do, but some people are like, that's lame, or I don't like that, or it's not right for you, etc. They just have opinions, you know, about what your
Yeah.
life should be, and who you should be with, and what you should think, and da 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 da. And like, I just want to care less about that.
Yeah. I feel like that's plaguing the world right now. And the internet's like propelling that forwards because everyone has their own opinion. And everyone thinks it just because like they have an account that their opinion is the one that's right. So I definitely feel you on that one. What else? What's another? Okay, so I try and do one good question at the end, and I'm going to start using this question for everyone because I think it's like a good insight to who they are and what they want to do.
Okay.
So, what's one thing on your bucket list that you really want to cross off, and why?
Oh, this is so hard. But I feel like, okay, I'm gonna do a very basic travel thing, which is like I really want to skydive over. I want to skydive over a volcano.
Okay, that's bold. You had me at skydive, but
Like,
the
have you seen?
volcano,
No, but like, have you seen the volcanoes in Iceland?
yeah, those look really nice.
They look so beautiful. Imagine just like obviously I probably can't like skydive onto the like you know what I mean onto the
Uh,
actual fire. That'd be so stupid. But like just somewhere around the mountain that
so you
is an
can have a
active
view of it.
volcano. Yeah, like you could see it as you're coming down. Like that would be so dope.
I feel you on that. This summer, I'm trying. Like, I have it planned. I haven't like paid for anything, but this summer is supposed to be when I do my first skydive. So I'm going to Texas to do it.
So fun. I would love also to be like a skydiving instructor. Like kind of get my license in it.
I feel like something about like seeing the
Yeah.
videos of people falling. It just looks like, damn, I want to be up there with that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, it feels so scary, but like so exhilarating.
Yeah, I could imagine. I I don't know how long it takes to get the license, but I could imagine it's not like getting a driver's license. It's got to be
No,
like pretty
probably not.
extensive.
Yeah, I probably have to dedicate a certain amount of time to it, being like, okay, I'm gonna do this seriously because the consequences of not doing it well is you die. So
Yeah, so I've been looking into it because like before I jump into it, I got to make sure that I know what's going on. So like if I see someone messing up, like I can stop it. But
no, that's smart.
apparently like folding the parachute is the most important part, and you don't get to see them do that when you do it. So that's gonna have me like a little nervous when I go.
You're like, can I trust y'all? Because you're like literally asked to trust the stranger with your life.
But the only thing is, I'm pretty sure they value their life too. So that's the plus side.
That's very true. That's a good point. I actually haven't thought about it that way.
Yeah. And I mean, what's the odds that they've done thousands of jumps and then when I get on is the one they're like, fuck it. Let's end this shit. That'd be terrible.
You're like, oh, we don't love the look of him. Maybe we just don't. We'll take his chance.
Yeah, but the air sports are scary. I saw, this is pretty grim, but I don't know if this was on the news or if it's on social media, but like they went, I think it's called paragliding, when it's like you're on the triangle.
Yeah.
And it was a guy and the instructor, and he didn't get clipped in. So like when they took off, he was literally hanging from the bar.
Oh my God.
So like they had to like fly the entire way with him like literally dangling. So
that is so traumatizing.
I could imagine.
Have you seen people base jumping?
Is that when they have the suit on and like they do it next to like a mountain?
Yeah, and it's like it's kind of like the suit is kind of like a wing.
Yeah, they're like squirrels.
They just, like jump over. They literally, they look like that. That looks scary. That actually looks like kind of unsafe.
Because they fly really close to like the wall or whatever they're going between.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also just like the only thing keeping you up is like your arms. That's it.
They don't have parachutes?
No, nothing. They just base jump with that thing with the like whatever wing.
that sounds kind of fun too, but I don't think
crazy. I would never. That I would never do.
I've never seen them like double up like an instructor and a regular person. I guess you got to be a pro to do it.
Yeah. And these people are the kind of people who like have been doing like free solos and like insane climbs of mountains and things like that. So, but still crazy in my opinion. I wouldn't do it.
That's a whole different mind, like a whole different crew of people over there doing that kind of stuff.
I recommend. Okay, wait. Before I leave, or before you kick me, whatever.
No, you go.
Really recommend watching Free Solo. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's like this Oscar-winning documentary about the dude who climbed. I think that the tallest wall. Like it's a mountain, obviously, but like it's in Yosemite. It's the tallest wall, if not in America.
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, and it's like he climbed it with nothing on. It's just him and his hands. And it's at like literally steep, like 90 degrees type of thing. And if he fell, it would be like death. So you just have to be perfect the whole time. It's a really great documentary. Highly recommend.
Is it on Netflix?
It's either on Netflix or Hulu.
Okay. I was watching another podcast and they mentioned it. So 2 times I'm gonna watch it now.
He's an intriguing dude. That's all I'm gonna say. It takes a certain type of person to do such extreme sports.
Yeah, and then like for what? Just so you can have a movie?
That's real, but like there is something kind of bad. I mean, they get like a certain like a crazy level of like mental stimulation and just like satisfaction from doing it. There has to be more than just the money because you're literally your life is on the line, you know.
Yeah, it's the personal has to outweigh what we're saying. So
yeah, true.
I feel that. Well, thank you for being on. This is Crew Talk episode 18. Our special guest Birdy. We want to thank her for being on. And we'll catch y'all in the next one.
Yes.